Baby, let me tell you something right now. If your name is Sean Diddy Combs, I already know your spirit is probably floating somewhere over that little bunk bed in county jail, wondering how the entire world flipped upside down on you in less than a month. And trust me, sugar, everybody's talking. Your lawyer's talking. Your PR team talking. Your old enemies talking. Even the Kardashians got your name in their mouth. And you know when they start joking about you on TV? Oh baby, that's when you know you done slipped off the top shelf and rolled under the pantry. Now, before we even get into the Kardashians, Nicki Minaj, and all this talk about pardons like we're playing Monopoly with real orange jumpsuits on the line, let me set the scene properly so all my grown folks can follow along. I know my 65-plus audience likes the story laid out clear and steady, but don't worry, I'm keeping the tea piping hot. So, here's what's really going on. There's this man named Jonathan Hayes. If you don't know that name, don't worry, baby. You will soon, because he's the one who kicked this whole chapter of the Diddy drama into high gear. Jonathan Hayes used to be a producer, a publicist, and he's been in circles that most of us only see on VH1 reruns. And now, he's suing Diddy and Biggie's son, Christopher Wallace Jr. Now sugar, let me pause right here for my seniors who don't like confusion. Biggie, the rapper, the legend, the man we all heard blasting from car speakers back in the 90s. Yes, his son. That's Christopher Jr. He's wrapped up in this mess too. But back to Mr. Hayes. Why is he important? Well, 1, because he's been out here talking. And 2, because he's the one who marched right on down to the LAPD and said, y'all need to look into Diddy's freaky business. And baby, when somebody makes the LAPD get up from their chair, you already know there's smoke. And usually where there's smoke, there's a whole bonfire. Jonathan Hayes is saying he has photos. He's saying he has proof. He's saying he's got receipts thicker than a Thanksgiving church program. And according to him, not only did Diddy hold him down physically, but Biggie's son somehow set him up. And listen, I ain't saying I know whether this is true or false. What I am saying is this. LAPD is investigating it right now. That alone should make Diddy's scalp itch. Now let me talk slowly for my seniors because this part is important and it gets legal real quick. A presidential pardon, and Diddy's been whispering about needing one, only covers federal crimes. Only federal land. Only federal charges. If the state of California grabs you by the collar, baby, no president can save you. A presidential pardon does not wipe away state charges. A president has no power in state court. And Diddy knows this. That's why 4 letters got everybody nervous. LAPD. Not FBI. Not DEA. Not DOJ. LAPD state. Local. California. And if California comes for you, honey, they don't offer Club Federal Resort-style jail time. No ma'am. No sir. They offer real prison. The kind you see on documentaries. The kind where you gotta watch your back in the cafeteria and tuck your blanket tight at night. Federal prison, that's Club Fed, where they fold your laundry. California State Prison? That's Oz. That's Attica. That's the stuff folks write books about. And believe me, baby, Diddy knows the difference. Whether he wants to admit it or not is another story. Now, while all this was going on, folks online were laughing because Kim Kardashian, yes, that Kim, made a little baby oil joke about Diddy on her show All's Fair. Now let's be honest, nobody's watching All's Fair. I mean truly, I don't know one living soul who has voluntarily tuned in. But some clip must have floated on TikTok because suddenly Diddy's PR person came out acting wounded. They said something like, "It's sad to see people kicking him while he's down." Oh baby. Not Diddy talking about people kicking others when they're down. Lord, if irony was a person, Diddy would owe it rent. Let's be real. When Cassie was out there trembling and suing for her life, did Diddy say anything about not kicking people who are suffering? When all those women were coming forward trying to share their trauma, did Diddy or his PR team tell the world to be gentle and show compassion? No, baby. No. They sent all types of folks, broke bloggers, desperate influencers, washed-out industry buddies, to smear those women like butter across burnt toast. But now that Diddy's the one in the hot seat, now people should be respectful. Now jokes are too much. Now the world is cruel. Please. Anyway, all that noise was basically a distraction. Because behind the scenes, Diddy was getting written up like a high school kid with a bad attitude. Reports say they took his phone privileges. Reports say they limited his commissary. And the rumor is, he even got 30 more days added to his stay for misbehavior. Baby. He ain't even been in there long enough for his orange jumpsuit to soften in the wash. Meanwhile, his son Justin was out there on national radio lying through his teeth, like somebody paid him in Starbucks gift cards. DJ Envy repeated whatever Justin said. It was basically a merry-go-round of nonsense, and people just ate it up because it was on a big platform. But here's the truth. Diddy is quiet lately because he has no one to talk to except his lawyers. And trust me, now that everything is being monitored, he's watching every word he says. He used to talk slick, thinking he ran the world. Now he can barely speak without worrying somebody somewhere is writing it down. But here's where the real plot twist comes in. The Kardashians? They used to be Diddy's friends. Kim and Diddy were tight. Kris Jenner and Diddy used to mingle in the same VIP lounges. Diddy always liked being around the powerful and the wealthy, and the Kardashians loved being around anybody who made them look more relevant. But now that Diddy's on the floor instead of the ceiling, they left him like last season's handbags. And the moment Kim cracked that joke on TV, oh, honey, that was Kris Jenner sending the signal straight to Hollywood. Diddy is done. We do not associate with him anymore. If Kris Jenner is standing next to Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the room, and she's laughing at Diddy, baby, you are not getting invited back to anything. And that's what really broke Diddy's heart. Not the charges, not the jail time, not even the loss of his reputation. What burned him most was being told, you can't sit with us anymore. Hollywood slammed the door. Now we getting to the juicy part. People are saying Diddy thought he could get a presidential pardon. He thought his influence was so strong that if he told voters to support a candidate, that candidate would win. He told Trump, if you want me to help you in the next election, I need a pardon first. Then I'll come out and campaign for you. Baby, Trump looked at him like, boy bye. Because at the very same time, Nicki Minaj was already knocking on that door. And not only knocking, she stepped inside, sat on the couch, took her shoes off, and said, use me however you need to. Now let's pick things up right where the heat was rising, because this is the part of the story that truly has Diddy pacing that jail cell like a man who suddenly realized the entire world kept spinning without him. While Diddy was still acting like he was the sun around which every celebrity and politician must revolve, someone else had already slipped in and taken the one spot he believed was reserved for him. And the wildest part? She didn't even have to ask permission. She just walked right in and took it. And that someone was Nicki Minaj. Yes, Miss Annika Tanya Marriage. The woman whose fan base is so powerful that politicians have publicly begged them to calm down. The woman who can sneeze, whisper, blink, and the internet will turn it into a top 10 trending topic. The woman who built a digital army so devoted that they will argue, post, trend, drag, defend, and mobilize faster than Diddy can blink in that jail hallway. That is who stepped forward while Diddy was still thinking he ran the game. Nicki wasn't shy about it either. She wasn't moving slow. She wasn't creeping around the edges. She stepped up and said exactly what every political strategist loves to hear from a famous person. I can help you. What do you need? And baby, if that isn't the kind of confidence that gets doors opened, red carpets rolled out, and political advisors leaning forward with interest, then I don't know what is. Now let's break this down slowly, clearly, and in plain English so all my senior viewers can follow every twist. Because this right here, this moment, is where Diddy's blood pressure went straight through the ceiling. You see, Nicki Minaj didn't just speak on music. No, she started discussing global religious issues. She started talking about Christians in Nigeria. She started involving herself in real, international matters. And baby, whether you agree with her or not, that kind of talk gets attention from people who sit in high places. Meanwhile, Diddy is sitting in a cell, hoping his lawyer remembered to file the right paperwork on time. That's the difference. Diddy thought he was still the celebrity with all the influence. He thought he could walk into Trump's circle and say, give me my pardon first, and then I'll show you what I can do. He thought he could negotiate from a position of power. He forgot the most important rule. You cannot demand leverage when you don't have any. Diddy believed he still had the power to deliver the black vote. He believed he was still seen as a leader, a cultural voice, a person with pull. But the truth is, most folks had already moved on. They were side-eyeing him long before the lawsuits came. They weren't listening to him as a political figure. They weren't turning to him for guidance or wisdom. So while Diddy was imagining himself as a kingmaker, Nicki Minaj was out here actually making moves. And here's where things get messy, because people online are whispering that Nicki isn't just helping with broad political topics. They say she is quietly positioning herself to request a pardon for her husband, Kenneth Petty. Whether that's true or not, the rumor alone is enough to make Diddy bang his head against the wall. Because baby, let's compare the two situations. Kenneth Petty has a criminal history, yes. It's public. It's on record. Everybody knows the story. But from a political standpoint, especially in the cold, strategic way governments think, his situation is more straightforward. His case involves a single victim. His charges don't involve big money corruption, trafficking, or multiple accusers stretching across decades. It's serious, but it's not explosive. Diddy's situation, on the other hand, is a full-blown disaster movie. Multiple lawsuits, allegations stretching over 20-plus years, accusations that make people gasp when they hear them, names of other celebrities tied into the mess, international incidents, financial crimes, photos, videos, people testifying, a whole industry whispering behind closed doors. Kenneth's case is a single chapter. Diddy's case is an encyclopedia. So when Nicki walks into a political room saying, "I'll work with you, I'll help you, I'll speak, I'll join panels, I'll go to events, I'll be visible," that's huge. And when her supporters, millions of people, show they will follow her into any conversation, that is political gold. Diddy, he can't offer that. Not anymore. Half of America has him on mute. The other half is waiting to see what else comes out. If he campaigns, it hurts more than it helps. No politician wants a celebrity who makes voters uncomfortable. So of course Trump's people looked around, did the math, and thought, well, Nicki is useful. Diddy is not. And that right there, that simple political calculation, is what truly made Diddy furious. Because for the first time in his adult life, he isn't the most powerful person in the room. He isn't the one people need. He isn't the one with leverage. He is simply not necessary. That loss of importance? That's the part eating him alive. Now let's talk about the Kardashians for a moment, because honey, when Kim made that little joke about him on her show, that wasn't comedy. That was a message. Kris Jenner doesn't breathe without strategy. Nothing in that family is accidental. Not a hairstyle. Not a quote. Not a storyline. Not a joke. Everything is placed like a chess piece. So when Kim joked about Diddy, she was really saying, "You're no longer part of our world." And for a man who spent decades climbing into that elite Hollywood circle, that moment cut deep. He laughed at Kanye with them. He partied with them. He posed with them. He helped them when it benefited him. But the minute he fell, they switched sides so fast the wind almost knocked his wig off. Hollywood always knows when the tide turns. And they turned on Diddy like the lights going off in a cheap motel. But here's the part that really hurts him. And older viewers will understand this instantly. Diddy didn't build community. He built transactional relationships. Deals. Favors. Power swaps. He didn't create loyalty. He created obligation. And obligation disappears the moment you lose your power. Nicki built loyalty. Diddy built fear. One of those things lasts. The other does not. So now, while Nicki speaks, travels, positions herself, and stays influential, Diddy sits in a small beige room begging guards for an extra phone call. His privileges are being taken away. His reputation is collapsing. His allies are scattering. His name is toxic. And the one hope he clung to, a presidential pardon, may be slipping away into someone else's hands. And that someone else is a woman he once believed was beneath him in the power structure of the industry. Nicki didn't beat him for a spot. Baby, she outclassed him. She outworked him. She outplayed him. And she did it while Diddy was too distracted trying to control the image of a collapsing empire. Worst of all, she did it effortlessly. And just when everyone thought Blake would take a step back and let the dust settle, she did the most unexpected thing of all. She went quiet. Not, "I'm taking a break" quiet. Not, "publicist issued statement" quiet. No, this was that deep, intentional silence that makes Hollywood nervous because it means someone is thinking. And baby, a thinking Blake Lively is far more dangerous than a talking one. She didn't clap back. She didn't leak anything. She didn't hop online with cryptic quotes or passive-aggressive captions. She simply disappeared. But you could feel her presence everywhere, like the calm that hangs in the air before a thunderstorm blows the windows off the house. People close to her said she wasn't hiding, she was calculating. She was watching every reaction, every whisper, every little shift in the narrative. Because Blake knows how the industry works. One wrong move, one emotional outburst, and the vultures start circling. One overly aggressive clapback, and suddenly she's the problem. So she held her tongue and let the noise get loud enough to break itself. And in that silence, the story shifted yet again. Suddenly blogs weren't talking about whether Blake was jealous. They were talking about whether she'd been disrespected. Hollywood started asking the uncomfortable question. Why did Justin choose this movie to reinvent himself as some tortured creative visionary fighting against limiting female leads? Rumors popped up that more actresses who'd worked with him in the past were swapping stories privately. Not enough to start a movement, but enough to show this wasn't some random misunderstanding. There was a pattern in the way Justin behaved when he felt overshadowed. There were whispers that certain scenes in past projects had to be res hot, because he insisted on doing things his way even when the women involved pushed back. Nothing extreme, nothing that would ruin a career, but enough to make the older folks watching say, that sounds just like some men I know. Can't handle a woman shining brighter than them. Meanwhile, the studio behind the movie was having their own little meltdown behind closed doors. They'd banked on this being a feel-good film with big stars, charming interviews, happy press tours, and lots of smiling red carpet moments. Instead, the whole rollout was turning into a messy blend of ego, miscommunication, and snarky social media edits. Executives started calling emergency meetings like the building was on fire. They were terrified Blake might walk away from the reshoots or refuse to promote the film. Because if she did, that would tank the movie faster than a bad Rotten Tomatoes score. And the older audience they were hoping to reach, the folks at home who love a comforting romantic drama, would disappear in a heartbeat if they sensed tension or disrespect. But Blake wasn't going anywhere. Oh no, she wasn't running, not this time. She understood something fundamental. Walking away would make her look guilty. Staying silent but present, watching from a distance while Justin scrambled to clean up his image? That was more powerful than any statement she could issue. And Justin was scrambling. He had his team emailing journalists, setting up friendly interviews, trying to paint himself as misunderstood. But every time he tried to fix something, the internet twisted it into something worse. His every move was being interpreted through the lens of insecurity, ego, and jealousy. Then came the haunting moment everyone remembers. That leaked clip from the set. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a screaming match. It was something far more revealing. A simple exchange where Justin tried to direct Blake in a scene she already knew better than he did. She listened politely, nodded, and then calmly explained why the emotion of the moment wouldn't match his suggestion. Her delivery was gentle, mature, thoughtful. His response? A tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. Viewers replayed the clip 1,000 times. Older viewers, especially women who spent decades managing male egos at home, at work, and everywhere in between, spotted the truth instantly. That wasn't collaboration. That was irritation. That was a man who couldn't stand being contradicted by a woman who actually knew her craft. After that clip leaked, social media did what it always does. It exaggerated everything. People started calling Justin controlling, manipulative, threatened, insecure. None of it was proven, but the tone in that clip told an entire story. Blake's fans hopped online and defended her like she was their daughter, niece, or best friend. And Justin's defenders? Well, they got quieter and quieter. It became clearer that he'd underestimated how much older women adore Blake. To them, she represents strength without cruelty, glamour without arrogance, confidence without bitterness. She's a woman who built her career on charm, intelligence, and hard work, not shortcuts and scandals. Eventually, the studio stepped in. They set boundaries. They separated interviews. They assigned PR teams to keep both of them under control, like two kids who couldn't sit next to each other in class without starting drama. Blake was given her own media plan entirely, something big stars get when the studio wants to protect them. Justin was instructed to tone down the commentary, stop talking about creative differences, and stop making innocent comments that sounded dismissive. Whether he realized it or not, the studio had quietly picked a side. Through all of this, Blake stayed elegant. That's what made the older audience root for her even harder. No matter how much noise surrounded her, she stayed grounded, calm, and focused. She reminded people of a time when celebrities didn't need to hop online and overshare every emotion. She gave them dignity, steadiness, and quiet strength in a world that rewards chaos. And that silence? It made her more powerful than ever. But here's the twist. Right when everyone thought Blake would eventually break her silence and give some big emotional interview, she flipped the script entirely. Instead of speaking out, she took a new project, one created, produced, and structured by a female-led team. No drama, no tension, no egos, just women uplifting women. It was subtle, but the message was loud. She wasn't interested in fighting Justin. She wasn't interested in proving herself. She was moving forward and letting the truth reveal itself naturally. And honestly, nothing hurts a man with an ego more than a woman who simply moves on. Justin felt the shift too. Sources whispered he tried to reach out privately and smooth things over. But Blake kept everything professional and distant. Not rude, not cold, just unavailable. She wasn't spending energy on something beneath her. She knew the real win was her reputation. And honey, her reputation was glowing brighter than ever. The funniest part? The older audience didn't just take her side, they adopted her. They started leaving long messages online about how she reminded them of their daughters, their sisters, their younger selves who had to deal with men who couldn't handle strong women. It wasn't just celebrity drama anymore. It had become a story people connected to deeply. And that's why this entire situation became bigger than a movie. It revealed something about the industry, about ego, about talent, and about the delicate dance between men who want control and women who've already outgrown that nonsense. By the time the press tour wrapped, Blake had reclaimed the narrative entirely without saying a single dramatic word. Justin ended up looking like the one who created the tension in the first place. And that, right there, is why Blake Lively will always win without having to raise her voice. When you carry yourself with grace, you don't need to fight loudly. You simply let time expose what needs to be seen. And baby, time exposed everything. In the end, this entire saga became a reminder that true strength never needs to shout. Blake walked through the storm with her head high, letting the noise burn itself out while she focused on her craft, her family, and her peace. Justin may have tried to control the narrative, but the truth always crawls to the surface, no matter how tightly someone tries to hold the lid down. And as the smoke clears, one thing stands taller than all the drama: Blake's dignity. She didn't clap back, she didn't crumble, and she didn't let ego drag her into the mud. She simply kept shining. And when a woman shines like that, no amount of whispered shade or fragile masculinity can dim her light. This chapter may be closing, but her story is far from over. In fact, this might just be the moment she steps into her strongest era yet.